everybody, it's Mrs. Sopiarz-Rianda, and this video is just going to walk you through our first session of our Unit 5. Now, Unit 5 is our first unit of second semester, and as you can see right here, it consists of 3 sessions, Session 1, 2, and 3, and you can also see that I already put the late date there as far as submitting late work, which is just a week after Session 3 is due. And in this unit, we'll be focusing on reading like a researcher. And in Session 1, we're going to be creating research questions and reviewing primary versus secondary sources. Now, the thing is, in this session, we're going to be doing in-depth exploration of the life and times of Martin Luther King, which is very appropriate considering, this time of year, the Martin Luther King holiday, which is next week. So we are going to be exploring lots of strategies for reading nonfiction and thinking like a researcher. Much of this work in this unit, in Unit 5, is a modeling process because you'll be doing this on your own for Unit 6. You'll be picking a research topic and writing a research paper, and you will be expected to use all the strategies that we are using in Unit 5, Session 1, 2, and 3. So down here you can see that the assignments that are due, along with the point value, along with our suggested schedule for the week. Like I mentioned in the introduction video, I highly recommend that you use this schedule. Please don't save this to the last minute because it will be a lot of work for you. Again, use that great app, and it's called Goal Setter. It's on Chrome, and you can, or Google, and not Chrome, Google, and you can set daily goals and reminders, and that's one way to create a schedule. The suggested schedule would be a really good reminder. Okay, so clicking next, as we always do. As I mentioned, this will be some challenging work that's ahead because you're going to be preparing for your own research paper. So be sure that in this particular assignment that you are thinking, in this session, that you're thinking about these essential questions. What questions do researchers ask themselves to check their thinking? How do my own biases and beliefs influence my research process? And how do I establish and to use acceptable, meaningful criteria for evaluating sources and information? And click next. So at this time, a researcher sets out to better understand the life and times of a particular person. The very first step, even before defining the purpose for the research or any larger purpose, is to read a basic biography of a person in question. So you basically can't ask good questions if you don't have somewhere to start with. And here is that place to start with. So down here is an encyclopedia entry on the life and times of Martin Luther King Jr. And then while you are reading that, you will be taking notes using the Cornell notes. And there's a template right here that you will be using to take down your notes. And you're going to be submitting it here on the next page. Here, it's missing right now, but there will be a video on how to take Cornell notes. Okay, so I highly recommend that what you do is, when you're reading this encyclopedia entry on MLK, is to print out the article and then highlight what you feel is most important as you read. And do consider these questions. Why is it that Americans consider MLK pivotal to the civil rights movement? And what core events happened in the King's life that shaped who he was? Okay, so once you've done an initial reading of the article and highlighted the key points, go back and take notes using the Cornell note-taking template down here. Okay, again, watch that video for help. So again, print out the encyclopedia entry with a highlighter or with a pen. Note and highlight things that you feel important based on these 2 questions. And then after your initial reading, after you've highlighted and made notes, go back and fill out this Cornell note template. Okay? And that's where you'll submit it on this next page here. Now, Cornell Notes is fantastic to use for almost all. It's a strategy that you can use for taking notes in almost any class. English, science, history, obviously. So it's just a great strategy for note taking in general. So after getting a basic understanding of a person's life, a researcher's next step in any research process is to establish some initial questions for what they are trying to discover. So a good research question should accomplish these goals right here. Okay, so in this discussion board, what you're going to do is you are going to suggest 2 or 3 research questions that a researcher could try to discover about the life and times of Martin Luther King. To keep things clean, please post 1 question each time you add to the discussion and add several times. Try to focus on questions that you don't know the answers to. So you don't want a question, for example, of when was Martin Luther King born, correct? Because that's not a probing question. So then review all the other classmates' posts and like any that you think were great questions. The posts with the most likes will become some of our research questions for this unit. So that will be pretty fun. Next, you're going to be learning about primary versus secondary resources. So be sure to read through all this information. And then on the next page, you can either watch or read MLK's first television interview. And then using PIA, remember point, evidence, and analysis format, click right here if you need a refresher on what that is. Be sure that you answer all of these questions 1, 2, 3, and 4, in complete sentences using point, evidence, and analysis. And then on the next page, you'll submit those questions, those PIA questions on the MLK interview. Okay, and then looking ahead in the next session, right now we're only scratching the surface on the kinds of reading and writing that researchers do in order to fully grasp the topic. So right now we've only started the process. We started with a secondary source that provides good overview of the research topic, which was the encyclopedia. And then we created 3 or 4 research questions to guide thinking. And then we explored primary sources that help you gain a better understanding of your topic. Remember that primary source was the actual interview with MLK. That is a primary source. So those are only the first few steps. The next steps will be in the next 2 sessions. Okay? If you have any questions about any of this, please contact me. I'm here to help. And have a fantastic day. You're all done.